If you had met Tommy Carmichael in the early 80s, you would have seen an ordinary TV repairman from Oklahoma. Quiet, unremarkable, with a technician's hands and a sharp sense of curiosity. His life was going downhill, trouble with the law, a failed marriage, and a lack of money. But everything changed when a school friend dropped by and showed him a simple trick. A piece of metal paperclip and a guitar string that could be inserted into a slot machine. When it touched the right contacts, the machine would register it as a win and start dispensing coins. Tommy didn't believe it, tried it, and was stunned. On the first day, he won $35, and by the next weekend, it was already thousands. This was his first hack, but the casinos quickly tightened security and Carmichael was caught. He went to prison, but there he found a like-minded person, Michael Balsamo. Together, they decided to keep going. After being released, Tommy bought a slot machine, took it apart piece by piece, and found a vulnerability. That's how a new scheme was born. He created a device that would close the necessary circuits inside the machine and win again and again. This was the beginning of a years-long saga. An ordinary technician became a legend in the world of gambling. From a paperclip to a light wand, Carmichael was hacking slot machines while everyone else was just playing. And all of this happened in real life without a single drop of fantasy. And very soon, another scheme would appear, no less ingenious and even more elegant. In the early 1970s, something happened in northern France that would later be called the scam of the century. Monica Lauren was a beautiful, intelligent woman with an engineer's mindset. Her brother worked as a croupier at the Deauville casino. At one point, he decided he was done working for the bosses. It was time to take what was his. Monica came up with a scheme worthy of a spy movie. They built a miniature electromagnetic receiver into an ordinary roulette ball, and Monica, standing next to the gaming table, controlled the ball using a compact remote hidden inside a pack of cigarettes. When the ball started spinning, her brother would launch it at the right speed. Monica would press a button and the ball would slow down, landing in a predetermined sector. Their accomplice would place bets specifically on those numbers. In just a few days, they won almost 5 million francs. At today's exchange rate, that's about 40 million euros. Everything looked clean, there were no rule violations, and on the surface, everything seemed normal. But the vigilant casino security noticed that Monica was always next to her husband, holding cigarettes but never smoking. They became suspicious. During a search, they found the device, and the whole scheme collapsed. The court ordered them to return the money, but there was no prison sentence. This story made headlines in the press and became a symbol of elegant deception. Years later, Monica moved to the United States, got a job at an ordinary store, and in the evenings would visit casinos. But now, only as a regular spectator. The game was over, but the legend remained. Next, young mathematicians will take the stage, and the stakes will get even higher. In the 1970s, a group of students from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology decided to do the impossible, to beat the casino at their own game. They studied the rules of blackjack and realized that with skillful card counting, they could turn the odds in their favor. That's how the MIT blackjack team was born. Their strategy wasn't luck, but calculation. One would play as a scout, counting the cards. As soon as there were a lot of face cards and aces left in the deck, he would signal his partner, who would then approach the table and place large bets. This was called team play. Their method was thought out down to the smallest detail. Team members trained, kept records, and even chose their clothing to look like typical tourists. They didn't just win, they did it systematically, carefully, and without any fuss. Over several years, the team visited almost every casino in the US and collected millions of dollars. But sooner or later, their faces started appearing on blacklists. The dealers became suspicious, the cameras watched more closely, and security services began to recognize their signals and tactics. The team started getting caught piece by piece. But even after the MIT Blackjack project ended, it remained a symbol of a smart approach in the world of gambling. This story proves that knowledge is power, especially when you use it against the system. However, even this scheme had its limits. The casinos weren't just sitting idly by either, and some winnings, as the next story will show, even ended up in court. And the player didn't always come out on top. Phil Ivey is a star in the poker world. He's known for his focus and analytical thinking. In the early 2000s, he and his partner Chung Yin-sun went to the Borgata Casino in Atlantic City. They were interested in playing baccarat, but their goal wasn't just to win. Ivey and Chung used a method that would later be called edge sorting. The idea is simple. The cards had tiny printing defects, almost unnoticeable, but with the right orientation and careful observation, they could be identified. Chung had noticed this feature back in Macau. By using it, they could predict with high accuracy which cards would come up. Over several visits, Ivey won nearly $10 million. But when Borgata found out about the scheme, they refused to pay out the money and took them to court. Their argument was game manipulation. Ivey insisted that he used observation, not cheating. The court sided with the casino. Ivey was ordered to return the money. The story sparked controversy. Some considered him a genius, others a cheater. But that's not the point. Even if you act within the law, the casino sets its own rules. Here, it's not the smartest who wins, but the one who controls the table. And if someone crosses the line by the industry's rules, that's already a reason to shut the door. But there were also those who acted more brazenly. Real gangs, with teamwork, collusion, and millions at stake. Among all the criminal schemes against casinos, the case of the Tran Mafia stands out in particular, organized by a group made up mostly of Vietnamese immigrants. In the mid-2000s, they carried out a series of coordinated attacks on casinos across North America. The key to their success was inside work. One of the members would get hired as a dealer and pass information to the players. For example, during a mini baccarat deal, the dealer would arrange the cards in a certain way, giving hints to the players. Sometimes they used tiny cameras, transmitters, and earpieces. Everything looked neat, but the result was hundreds of thousands of dollars in winnings in a single night. The main thing was to act quickly and in sync. The casinos noticed that some players were winning too consistently. An investigation began. The FBI got involved, and soon the network fell apart. Dozens of people were arrested. The leaders of the gang received prison sentences. The damage was estimated at millions of dollars. This was a wake-up call for the entire industry. The threat might not come from outside, but from within. Since then, many casinos have tightened staff checks, installed more cameras, and implemented behavioral analysis. This story isn't about luck. It's about cold calculation, discipline, and risk. But there were other schemes, just as effective, only using high technology and without any physical interference. In the early 90s, a new threat appeared in Las Vegas casinos. Miniature cheating devices hidden right in clothing. One of the players, who was later apprehended, used a tiny video camera built into his belt. The camera discreetly recorded the cards dealt by the dealer, and the footage was transmitted to a hidden receiver. An accomplice of the player, sitting in the hall with an earpiece, had time to give advice on what to do. This gave a tremendous advantage. The player knew not only his own cards, but also the dealer's hand. At first, security suspected nothing. The winnings were large, but not out of the ordinary. Only when the victories started happening too frequently did they pay attention to the player's strange movements and unusual behavior. During a search, they found a hidden device, a camera, battery, and transmitter neatly built into a belt. This was a precedent. Later, it turned out that similar schemes had been used in other states as well. Some scammers hid the equipment in their shoes, ties, or even under their cuffs. Signals were sent to hidden transmitters in the hall, and the team acted according to a script. After that, casinos tightened their rules. Metal detectors appeared, along with belt checks and even tests for hidden radio signals. Technical scams became risky, but the scammers' ideas still didn't run out. Their next target was no longer technology, but the casino employees themselves. In some scams, you don't need clever devices or mathematical calculations, just someone on the other side of the table. The dealer, also known as the croupier, can be the weak link if they get a cut. In the early 2000s, a scheme involving casino staff was uncovered at a Canadian casino. One of the dealers colluded with a player. During the deal, he would give subtle signals, hand positions, chip manipulations, micro-gestures. The player knew when to raise the bet or fold. Sometimes there were even mistakes in payout calculations. An extra chip here, an oversight during an exchange, and suddenly there were thousands more on the table. This scheme was hard to uncover. Everything looked like a regular game. Only after reviewing the video footage and noticing suspicious winning statistics did it become clear there was collusion behind this. In some cases, the signal was simpler, a nod, pressing a chip, or a prearranged word. In mini baccarat, the scheme became so popular that in Las Vegas they even started monitoring the facial expressions and behavior of employees. After these incidents, dealers began to be trained in special security techniques, and every shift is now monitored by video surveillance. But the fact remains, if the player and the dealer are working together, the chances of winning increase dramatically. And even if the cameras record everything, an experienced team can operate with surgical precision. At first glance, casino chips are simply substitutes for money. But if you look more closely, it was chips themselves that became the tool for one of the simplest and most profitable scams. In Las Vegas, a player noticed that chips were the same size regardless of their denomination. He started swapping cheap chips for more expensive ones right at the table. At first, he would place small bets and then, while distracting the dealer, would discreetly exchange the chips for higher value ones. After the game ended, he would go to the cashier and cash out a large win that, in reality, never existed. In another case, scammers produced almost perfect counterfeits. Their chips were indistinguishable from the originals in both appearance and weight. They would mix them into the game and then, after a few rounds, collect and exchange them. Everything came to light when the cashier noticed that one of the chips had slightly smudged paint. An investigation began, and it turned out that hundreds of counterfeits were already in circulation. After this incident, casinos started embedding RFID tags in high-value chips. Now every chip is tracked in real time, where it was, when, and with whom. This made life harder for scammers, but until then, chips had been the perfect way to quietly steal tens of thousands from a casino. No cards, no bets, no risk of losing. Just sleight of hand and a cool head. When people say casino heist, you picture masks, guns, and panic. But real scams happen quietly. One vivid example is the man in an expensive suit who walked into a Las Vegas casino. He confidently approached the cashier, presented fake documents claiming to be a VIP guest, and asked to cash out chips for a large sum. The operator didn't doubt him. His stylish appearance, knowledge of internal terminology, and the fact that his information matched the guest database all played a role. He walked away with $1 million. In another case, a casino accountant transferred about $2 million to fake accounts over several months. No one noticed because the amounts looked like regular payouts. And only after an internal audit were the discrepancies uncovered. These scams are dangerous because they don't disrupt the outward appearance. No flashy bets, no sudden moves. Everything goes according to plan. Only after some time does it become clear that something went wrong. For a long time, casinos tried not to let such stories reach the press, fearing damage to their reputation. But even without any noise, the damage was colossal. Now documents are checked twice, transfers are recorded, and every check goes through a verification system. But the fact remains, sometimes the deceptively quiet steps are the most destructive. It also happens the other way around. A player seems to win, but the casino suddenly refuses to pay. In Illinois, an elderly woman played a slot machine and saw the coveted jackpot combination appear on the screen, over $40 million. Her joy was short-lived. An administrator approached and informed her that there had been a malfunction and the money would not be paid out. Instead of her winnings, she was offered a free dinner. She filed a lawsuit but lost. The casino rules state that if a machine malfunctions, the results are considered void. In New York, it's a different case. The girl placed a bet of cents and won the jackpot of $43 million. She managed to take a photo, call relatives, but again heard the same phrase. System failure. The casino didn't pay out, citing a technical error, and the court sided with them. Formally, everything is according to the rules, but in reality, the player is left defenseless. The casino protects itself in advance. The terms state that in case of a malfunction, payouts are not guaranteed. This means you can lose fair and square, but winning isn't always guaranteed. Some establishments really do try to pay out so as not to lose customers. But if the amount is sky high, the chances of getting it are close to zero. So it's not just the players looking for loopholes, the system also knows how to protect itself and sometimes does so unexpectedly harshly. When cheating schemes became more and more sophisticated, casinos responded with technology. Modern casinos are not just rooms with roulette tables and slot machines. They are surveillance centers with dozens of cameras, analysts, and algorithms. Let's start with the chips. High-value chips now have RFID chips built in, miniature transmitters that allow each chip to be tracked in real time. The operator knows when and where it was transferred and how long it was in circulation. This solves two problems at once: combating counterfeiting and monitoring player behavior. The second barrier: smart shoes for blackjack. They automatically shuffle the cards after each deal. This makes counting impossible. No player can remember the order because it is new every time. Cameras, a separate story. Modern casinos use facial recognition systems. Even if a player comes in wearing a hat and glasses, the program will match their features, gait, and behavior. If you have been caught cheating in the past, your profile will appear on the security services screen within a minute. In China, the facial recognition system operates at the state level. There, blacklists are applied across several establishments at once. If you are caught cheating in one casino, your access is automatically blocked in all the others. This is a new era. Scams have become high-tech, but so has the protection. Fraudsters have to change their methods, but every new device quickly becomes useless. Artificial intelligence is already guarding the table. Before the advent of automatic shufflers and chips, the most vulnerable element in a casino was the cards themselves. In the late 90s, several players from Europe used a method that journalists dubbed Cassette Blackjack. The essence of the scheme was simple. The player would hide a mini-camera in their clothing, which recorded the sequence of cards as they were loaded into the shoe. That's the special box from which the dealer deals the cards. After recording, the video was quickly analyzed by an accomplice. He would figure out the order in which the cards would come out and relay hints to the player through an earpiece. Knowing which cards would come next, the player could make precise decisions on whether to hit or stand, double down or wait. In one case, a player won over $60,000 in a single evening without making a single mistake. Everything was going according to plan until the casino noticed a strange synchronicity in the player's actions. The player would place a bet a split second before each deal, as if he already knew the outcome. After a search, a hidden camera was discovered and both were arrested. Today, such a scheme is impossible. Cards are loaded under strict control, shuffled automatically, and security cameras record every stage. But back then, in the late 90s, it was a breakthrough. Cassette Blackjack became a symbol of the technological era when players relied not on luck but on the precision of data. But even such advanced schemes still couldn't change the main rule. The casino sets the rules. And it's not the players who decide where the line is drawn between skill and cheating. When it comes to ingenious casino cheating schemes, most viewers have one question. So where's the line? What separates a mathematician from a cheat, an observer from a swindler, a lucky pro from a fraudster? In reality, this line isn't legal but psychological. Casinos are private establishments and they set their own rules. For example, card counting in blackjack is not technically prohibited by law. It's a skill, not a trick. But if the casino suspects a player, they can simply ask them to leave. No explanation needed. That's how the principle of the house always wins works. Even if a player uses memory and calculation, it can be seen as a threat. When Phil Ivey won millions through attentiveness, he was accused of manipulation. When Meade used team play, the students were blacklisted. When Carmichael used a paperclip, he was arrested. There's only one difference. The casino decides what's allowed. This industry is built on the illusion of equal chances. But every inch of space, every light, sound, and turn is calculated. The player is a guest in someone else's world. And as soon as he gets smarter than the system, he's pushed out. You could say the ideal player is the one who loses. But history shows otherwise. There are those who still try to play by their own rules. Sometimes successfully, sometimes disastrously. But it's exactly these people who make the world of gambling truly exciting.